Assalamu alaikum. Hello and good day, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about from detection to containment, advancing autonomous intelligence-driven incident response in hyper-distributed threat landscape. There are lots of keywords here, and we're going to break down these according to the contextual understanding of organizations, and we'll see how we can advance the technological evolution around these heavy terminologies. Something about me, I'm a lecturer in cybersecurity at the School of Science, Engineering and Environment at the University of Salford. I've done my PhD and MSc from UTP Malaysia. I'm currently serving as a program lead for computer science with cybersecurity. I'm a REF co-lead. REF is Research Excellence Framework in England, and I'm a co-lead for People, Culture and Environment for Unit of Assessment 11, which is Computer Science and Informatics. I've also worked as co-lead for Contributions to Knowledge and Understanding, previously known as Outputs. I'm a British Computer Society member, and I'm also a member of Manchester Branch Committee. We organize several different events to equip the wider community with technological understanding of various topics. I'm also a member of Erasmus Plus Cybersecurity Blended Intensive Program, and we organize each year, cyber intensive week-long activities across different European countries. Last year, we did it in Paris. The next year, 2026, is going to be in Belgium. My research is focused on various domains of information and cybersecurity. And I'm an advocate and enabler of women in cybersecurity in STEM. And I do this all through equity, diversity, and inclusion principles. I've shared my LinkedIn QR code on this slide with some sustainable development goals that I am interested in. If any one of you would like to connect with me, you can use the QR code. So as I said, there are lots of things on this topic, lots of keywords or terminologies joined together to address the technological innovations within organizations and what's the shift ahead. So we're going to look into some of the challenges, the shift that is required, the guardrails, and the road ahead. Starting off with some challenges, I guess, it's worth looking into where we stand at the moment. So we all agree that there is massive digital transformation across organizations, which includes big data, cloud services, machine intelligence. In some organizations, it's just readily implemented, and some organizations are still on that pathway of incorporating machine intelligence with 6G, 5G, 6G connectivity between different infrastructures. Now, this digital transformation is not just technological, it is also about empowering the teams, engaging customers, transforming the products, and optimizing the general operations within any business or industry or other sort of organizations, corporate offices maybe. Now, as these advancements are happening within organizations, we do understand that it's hyper-distributed infrastructures, as I said, including cloud, edge, IoT, industrial control systems, operational technologies. Now, these are actually disrupted by AI-augmented adversarial tooling and automated exploitations because of the generative AI, the open exposure to generative AI, and lots of different platforms which can help prompt and get adversarial know-how of how things can be disrupted. Now, this AI intervention is enabling rapid lateral movement via credential theft and identity compromise, which is then leading to several different issues, but then multi-vector intrusion chains. For example, fileless attacks, LOL bins, API abuse are some of the major interruptions that different industries or organizations are facing. Now, we do agree that we need to be resilient, or the digital transformation needs to be resilient, by all means, we need to think ahead, as in what's happening at the moment within the organization, what are the processes, how people are engaged in different operations, what are the policies, what standards are being followed, what are the standard operating procedures, what solutions are in hand. So looking at the current environment, we need to decide as in how we need to invest in solutions and how smartly we need to invest in controls and solutions so that we can make the investments in the right direction and we don't overcost the organizations. But that is still something, I mean, even if the organizations are ready to invest, the legacy systems is something that still needs some more homework for organizations to decide as in what needs to be done in this domain. Now, just a quick look into where different sectors are standing in 2025. Now, this is a report from the IBM Cost of Data Breach study published in 2025, where we can see that healthcare sector is the most breached sector. Now, when we talk about digital transformation, it can be done in several different sectors. We all agree with that. Healthcare, financial, industrial, energy, technology, pharmaceuticals, many different sectors are ready to be digitally transformed, but then those digital transformations, because not done with a secure strategy in mind, are now breached heavily by the adversaries. So we can see that we know that these sectors are being breached. The other hand is that the mean time to identify that breach and mean time to contain that breach is not significantly reduced over the period of time. It has somewhat reduced from the past few years, but there could be several other factors that are deflating these statistics. But then it's still 241 days on the average where the organizations actually identified the breach and then they got rid of that breach after 241 days, which is a long time. So when we say which is a long time, that means the disruption was there for quite a lot of time, affecting, of course, organizational processes and profits. Looking into the attack vectors that have been affecting several different sectors, including system errors, insider threats, denial of service attacks, third-party vendor and supply chain compromises, phishing attacks have been the most widely used attack vectors. And it's been a while that they are being used, and people still fall victim to this external attack vector. Malicious insiders, they do affect the organizations heavily with a higher cost of breach, but then the scale at which phishing attacks affect is actually something where organizations still need to look into the affecting points and do the remedies around those points. So looking back into the topic that we are discussing, detection to containment and incident response. So if an incident is quite expected through phishing attacks, then probably more investment or strategic decision making across this attack vector is important for organizations, for any scale of organization, even small and medium enterprises or larger organizations. But then does this have to be manual, or do we need to do some autonomous or intelligence-driven activities around this? A good strategic point to think about. Now, organizations do understand that they've got several endpoints to look at to have that wider visualization of what is happening across the organizations in different departments. So 𝗓𝗵 solutions, security information and event management solutions. There are several vendors that produce 𝗓𝗵 solutions, and several organizations deploy these solutions as per their need, as in what sort of visualization do they require. So it can give understanding around perimeter security devices, servers and virtual machines. It can translate some network activity, data flows, can give some insights into applications that are running, and of course some insights around user activities as well. So same solutions we've been hearing for quite a lot of time, that these are implemented in several different organizations for several different reasons, as I said, to look into indicators of compromise. So same solutions do address indicators of exposures, as in what are the weaknesses within different systems, different entities that are being deployed in any infrastructure, some common vulnerabilities and exposures that can lead to different attacks. And then once the attack is in progress, what are the indicators of compromise? Say, can we trace the signature of an attack in progress? Is some example could include, as in if the hash of any file is changed or maliciously revised so that malware can be incorporated or used for the next attack within that specific context. So how well does it work? SIEM solutions are in place. Organizations do understand that they need to patch the vulnerabilities, or the need to keep an eye on indicators of compromises to identify any attacks being happening within an organization. But if you look into the stats, even in 2025, the mean time to identify or contain the breach is still 241 days. And it is expected that shortening it to 200 days can save money, but then 200 days can save money, right? And how is that possible to shorten it to from 241 days to 200 days on the average? Challenge the scale of the corporate network. Approximately, as per the technical studies, approximately 4.5 billion security events happen per day on large corporate networks, and there is no perimeter. So if we say that we need to prevent those events or attacks, where do we look at? Larger corporate organizations, they've got no perimeter, and most breaches are by external agents. So it's quite a challenge to detect each attack or a process or technique or procedure of that specific attack, and then contain that. So identify and contain. Somewhere in between, it's important to say, as in what sort of attack is happening at the moment. And then, because it's just so scattered among different devices, different solutions, different products, different processes, the correlation of that event to have that holistic understanding or view of the context is quite challenging within the existing environment. So traditional incident response mechanisms do have some limitations. We do know that there are some linear playbook-driven workflows which are not scalable. So things are mostly documented, and then people manually follow those things. And then there is over-reliance on signature and indicators of compromise-based detection. Within those high volume SOC environments, there is manual triage bottlenecks which need to be resolved, because then again, there is a lot of manual intervention in these processes. There is fragmented visibility across hybrid ecosystems, where the correlation between the attacks, the devices, the behavioral understanding of those processes is just quite limited and fragmented. And there is this inability to respond at adversarial speed, because adversaries have motive, they've got context, they've got rewards for doing things. They are focused on disruption. So it is important to have that, to break this cycle of limitations and think ahead of the existing challenges. So the shift that is required for the existing incident response mechanism, which has higher mean time to identify and contain the breach, this demands intelligence-driven incident response. Now, when we say intelligence-driven incident response, it's not just that we train the machine learning model with some specific data and then we expect certain outcomes which are of higher accuracy, which have low computational costs. It's not just traditional intelligence that we are talking about. It has to cover the wider scale of the organization, how things are happening or processing or functioning within that context, and then extracting the correlated information and then make decisions from that understanding. So it's important, again, first to have behavioral analytics for detecting indicators of attack in any organization. And then once we understand as in how devices are behaving, say across multiple layers within an organization, through the connectivity, how they communicate with each other, what sort of data do they transfer to each other, how do they behave in the daytime, how do they behave in certain operational environments. It's important to have that complete understanding and then correlate things. Then threat modeling aligned with MITRE ATT&CK, as in it's important. So MITRE ATT&CK is always a go-to-go place for any security practitioner, and it's important to have that threat modeling based on as in what other similar use cases are experiencing in terms of attack surfaces, attack vectors, the tactics, the techniques, and the procedures used by the adversaries. What pathways are they incorporating at the moment to attack the organization? So that fusion of that threat intelligence with attack surface management and telemetry is quite important in terms of that shift towards the intelligence-driven incident response. And then not relying just on linear playbooks or run books. It is vital to have the dynamic risk scoring for prioritized responses. It doesn't, one incident doesn't have to be prioritized all the time based on the context or correlation of the attack that is happening, or the indicators of compromises that have stronger correlation. It is important to have that dynamic scoring for prioritized response within this context. Now, we did say intelligence-driven, and then there was another word in the topic which says autonomous response paradigm. So this autonomous response paradigm is not just doing things with certain accuracy or just with effectiveness. Everything, when we say autonomous response, everything has to have some focus in terms of how to respond to different incidents. So for example, we need to have that machine speed containment decisions. The AI models for anomaly detection and event correlation can be implemented. It's not just one thing which can do everything for us. It's different agents, different solutions integrating with each other in order to produce that holistic outcome for reliable visualization of what is happening across the organization. Another aspect of autonomous response paradigm is automated isolation of the affected systems, and then of course the kill chain should be interrupted. If it started off with reconnaissance and then moving on weaponization, exploitation, lateral movement, and the other objectives of adversaries, the autonomous response has to break that kill chain and work on the remediation process. Reinforcement learning is something which is readily adopted by the cybersecurity practitioners and experts, or people who are integrating AI and cybersecurity. That is, it should learn from its state. It should perform certain actions, and then reward should be contributed so that the agents can learn from its context, its environment, and be better prepared for adaptive defense strategies. So we have been hearing about extended detection and response mechanism, or security orchestration, automation and response mechanisms. So they've been in their own segregated environments, they've been performing quite well. So autonomous systems require XDRs and SOARs to be converged to have that unified visibility across endpoints, workloads, network, and entities or identities. Automated orchestration pipelines for triage and response can be created, and these are quite vital in any scaled, huge or large corporate network, so that things can be resolved, or issues can be resolved in a timely manner. Playbooks can, of course, be enhanced with conditional logic and contextual enrichment, so people do not get into those bottlenecks with manual triage. Real-time integration, of course, it doesn't have to be that isolated systems are just segregated in any infrastructure or in any technological environment. Real-time integration with SIEM, endpoint detection and response mechanisms, identity and access management, and cloud-native controls can be done so that things can be controlled holistically for reliable autonomous response. Now, whatever technological solutions that we talk about, it is important to have those strategies, evolving, reliable strategies in place. For example, containment and resilience strategies should include that microsegmentation and network policy reconfiguration can be done on demand. And access control to prevent privilege escalation can be implemented with JIT, which is just-in-time mechanism. We can create deception layers, honeypots, honey tokens, decoy credentials to engage the adversaries for a longer period of time, to know what tactics are they using to invade into the system, or what technologies or techniques are they utilizing, say, to evade the models, if there are AI systems implemented. So if there's an attack which is trying to evade the AI model for different operations, the deception layers can help in those autonomous response mechanisms and understanding of how the attacks are happening. Then automated rollback and system hardening post-incident is something that can come in with proper, thorough digital forensics activities if the incident is identified. And then, of course, the digital forensics can help in how the future attacks can be contained more efficiently. The guardrails. Now, when we talk about the digital solutions, or the intelligence-driven solutions, or something that is just making autonomous decisions, it is important to look into the best practices, the standards and frameworks. We call it the fancy word guardrails. Now, NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 which has recently been revised, has massively introduced, I would say, the concept of govern, which is governance around its core pillars: identity, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Pillar of NIST cybersecurity framework. So it is quite important to look into, as in how the standards are advising organizations for the security of their not just technological solution, but organizational people and other entities which are part of that organization or that infrastructure. Not just one standard is something that is talking about security controls or implementing holistic understanding of secure infrastructure. Center for Internet Security Critical Security Controls is another best practice which is readily utilized by several different organizations in order to implement security for continuous monitoring and response mechanisms. Now, for critical security controls, the latest version, which is 8.1. Control 17 talks about incident response management. So these controls can be implemented in different implementation groups based on the scale of those organizations. So if it's a smaller organization, implementation group 1 is implemented, controls are implemented. If it's a larger organization, IG2 controls or safeguards can be implemented. And if it's a really larger corporate network, then it is expected that all safeguards within each control of this best practice should be employed by the organization. Now, Control 17 is around incident response management, and it is expected that 9 safeguards from this control should be implemented by larger organizations. We have talked a lot about intelligence-driven incident response or autonomous mechanisms. So not forgetting that it shouldn't be rushed into any organization. It is important that any organization, vendors who are proposing different security products, that they all look into compliance with these standards such as ISO 27001 and ISO 42001. Now, 27001 has got 93 controls spanned on organizational controls, people control, physical controls, and technological controls. Now, these controls are basically best practices that help in not just incident response, but then proactive approach, meaning securing the products or technological solutions before anything goes wrong. And then 42001 has got 38 controls around policies, resources, impacts, life cycle data, and several other aspects. So when we say intelligence-driven solutions should be implemented in any organization, it is important to refer to artificial intelligence management system because AI has its own implications and it can actually bring in rather negative effects to any organization than positive that are expected. So the guardrails are around the standards and frameworks, or you could also say governance and risk and compliance, GRCs, which organizations should look into. So I'm conscious of the time. The road ahead, very quickly, for predictive and autonomous incident response, it is important that organizations transition from reactive to predictive defense. Security practitioners should think of incorporating AI agents supporting 24/7 SOC augmentation. Of course, human analysts can focus on strategic decision-making and threat hunting, and not forgetting the buzzword, but then the most important thing, zero trust principles, which should be embedded in incident response operations as well. MITRE ATT&CK for security controls implementation, or looking into as in what is happening around security and privacy in any organizational context. And MITRE ATLAS is something which should readily be consulted for any AI-driven solutions being incorporated in organization or AI-driven solutions implemented or developed or deployed by the vendors. So the vision with all this discussion should be around cyber defense that operates at cloud scale and adversarial speed. We've been doing a lot of research around autonomous response mechanisms or intelligence-driven solutions. Some do relate to incident response as well, but then it is a journey. As I said, the organizations still deal with legacy systems. All of these terminologies, or as I said, the road ahead or the vision, it is an ongoing process. And each day we come across a new sort of threat. So 0 day is just an ongoing thing. Despite organizations adopting several strategies, making decisions based on the best practices. It is just a journey which needs a lot of more research, and not just standalone research, but actually engagement with the organizations or industries or different sectors to understand what's happening at the ground level and how we can help them resolve the issues. Some of the projects that we have been working on are funded by Innovate UK, Department of Science, Innovation and Technology. One project was AI Cyber Nexus, where we empowered small and medium enterprises within the Greater Manchester. We helped them understand the integration of cybersecurity and AI, and we created that attitudinal change and understanding of impact of AI on cybersecurity. Another project that we're working on is funded by EPSRC Cyber Focus. This is around secure digital transformation, cybersecurity, and safe AI. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you have any question or you would like to connect for any collaboration, you can use the LinkedIn QR code, and I'd be very happy to collaborate. Thank you.